Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining us today. I am so thrilled and excited to share with you today's guest. We have with us Dirk Yow. He is an expert in the process of intestinal detoxification. He holds a bachelor degree in science, microbiology, medicinal botany, I might have said that right,
Botany, yes.
botany,
Medicinal botany, yes.
drugless healing from the Evergreen State College in Washington, and a certificate from Germany in the use of oxygen ozone as it relates to precision intestinal oxidative hydrotoning, PIOH. With over 45 years of clinical experience, Dirk is a respected authority in the field of intestinal detoxification. He coined the term PIOH after 39 plus years of experience. He is the author of the amazing book, Wheels of Wellness, a researcher and a scientist, deeply committed to passing on the knowledge to the next generation. Dirk has several offices throughout the US and Canada. Ceremony is the name given to each PIOH session, as each client is treated with confidentiality and respect. Oh, how fantastic. Oh, Dirk, thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited.
Thank you, Paula. I'm very thrilled as well because any opportunity I can get to teach people more about how their bodies work, I just love this and I relish it, and I appreciate your due diligence and having an availability of this to be able to do that, to reach out to people with knowledge, and so thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I love it.
Bless you.
Oh, blessings, my friend. First off, share some more of your background and what got you interested in this amazing technology of colon irrigation.
Yeah, well, I've always been interested in the subject of healing, whether it's mind, body, or spirit. And originally, I was on the path of working with people in different counseling techniques. And as I was finishing up some of my clinical training for that, I noticed there's two groups of people I was working with at the time. One group was in Canada, and the other group was in Phoenix, Arizona. And I noticed the people in Phoenix seemed to move more quickly with the counseling work I was doing than the people in Canada. And for that group of people, they were more in Arizona, interested in their health and well-being and diet and juice fasting and various types of modalities around revolving around some of those techniques. And so then the other thing part to that as well, because I was training to be in the ministry at the time, and part of that training, for me at least, was the idea that the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, and you keep that temple clean. And so the things that you eat and drink and so forth, that was also an influence on my own health. And and so I would, have you ever heard of wheatgrass, for example?
Oh, I'm a huge fan of
There
wheatgrass.
you go.
I have
So
been
that
for 30
e-
years.
exactly, and Wigmore, and also we coffee enemas, Gerson. Uh, so I was doing some of that on my own simply because I wanted to follow whatever the calling was that I was supposed to have. And that being said, several of the people in Arizona had indicated to me that they were doing a form of colon irrigation, and that colon irrigation. And so I was curious about that. And I thought, well, I'd like to try that. Uh, so I went to a place in Arizona, and that individual I think his name, I'm not sure really what his name was. I want to say Dr. Price, but I can't be sure of that because that's been many years ago now, but even longer than I've been doing it professionally. Anyway, I did a couple and I was just amazed. And so then going back, once I was done with my clinical training in the ministry, I had moved back to Seattle and uh, Kathleen Wells, who is a massage therapist, and she still practices to this day, uh, was very staunch about detoxing as well. And so one of the people that used to refer me counseling clients was a naturopath by the name of Dr. Jennifer Huntoon. And out of the blue one day, she would refer me counseling clients, some of her patients. So we would have these weekly meetings. And in that course of that, she said, well, Dirk, how would you like to learn how to do colon irrigation? And at the time, I was after any shiny object of healing. It was like whatever that was, I would go, oh, okay, and whether it was, Bach flower essences or homeopathy or herbalism or juice, just whatever. I was just always interested in whatever form healing took place because we both know, I'm sure you know that all true healing is about energy, whatever tool you use. And if it's really helping the body, then ultimately it's going to affect mind, body, spirit. And so that being said, I said, sure. And so not realizing at the time what that would entail, but and the person who trained me at the time was a retired nurse, and she was very basic. I learned what I called at the time the fill them up, flush them out technique. Next. That was basically what she taught me. Now, the instrument was very interesting because I learned more about that later on as I continued working with this modality. Was a Combs, and there was a doctor, a German doctor, a Swiss German doctor by the name of Adolf Combs, and he called himself A. Combs at the time because this was right after World War II and so forth. So anyway, he specialized this in a very specific form of colon irrigation. And this is where the confusion sets in for the average, novice, because you hear the word colonic a lot, and that's very generic. It's a generic term, and it's kind of been dumbed down quite a bit because most people that go, that do whatever procedure of water in the colon, they assume, well, that's what a colonic is now. And ironically, a gentleman by the name of excuse me, Robert Wright, he had the book Killing Cancer, Not People. Did you ever hear of him? Anyway,
Oh,
an amazing man. But anyway, he at one point went around to various clinics around the world, Mexico, Germany. And when he came back to see me again, he goes, Dirk, I learned a lot. He said, I learned that, first of all, most people who use that term colonic, uh, they're actually doing a coffee enema. And that's what that involves. And so, and again, the more modern terms, again, dumbed down, so-called open systems, and that's kind of a super enema, if you will, and or so-called closed systems, which is the two tube technique, and that involves inlet and outlet uh, tube and so forth. But even then, it diversifies from there because most of the so-called two-tube systems, closed systems, use way too much pressure. Um, and there's a specific type of technique which I do, which you're using an instrument, and I've used 12 instruments over the years, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here too much because now I'm talking more. But you had asked me how I got into this. So anyway, in that first year, and again, not intending to be doing it for this long, in that first year, that's when the first medical doctor came in to see me. And at that point in time, I had to sort through the confusion because everybody that came in, I learned a lot during that first year, especially because I would go, one of my questions would be, well, why are you here? Well, I'm here because I'm doing a juice fast, or I'm here because I'm doing some food combining or food elimination, sensitivity diet. Um, I do yoga. I mean, you name it. There was so many different reasons why people would come in. And so that part was confusing in that regard because I realized, wow, all these different things that people do in terms of their health. And so I'm going, wow. And then a medical doctor comes in and I go, well, why are you here? And he goes, well, and he had his arms folded and he wasn't very happy about it. He says, my yoga teacher said I had to do 10 colonics. And so I said, okay. And so he would come in and we would do the procedure at the time. And so, and in my book, I talk about this, and in the back you can see uh, an observation area of the tube where you can watch for various responses. Like for example, this is a liver dump here. You can see this black, I call it a black bile dump.
Uh-huh.
And so we would watch for different responses. Now at the time, in this piece of equipment, they had what was called the diagnosticon, which was the observation area of the tube. And again, not knowing what I was looking at, because whenever I asked my teacher at the time, all she would say was, Dirk, it's just crap. Don't worry about it. So I go, okay, fine. So anyway, I hope some cola jokes are appropriate here. But anyway, so then this doctor would say, well, Dirk, what's that? And most of the time I go, well, I don't know. And he goes, another time he goes, well, what's happening here, Dirk? And I said, I'm not really sure. And then another time, what's that, Dirk? And I go, oh, that's a piece of apple. Did you eat some apple? And he goes, and so every upon occasion, yes, he did. So upon occasion, I get something right. But then at the end of it, okay, after his 10th session, he's sitting there and goes, well, I feel better. My yoga's going a little better, lost a couple pounds, so forth. I go, well, since you feel like you've gotten some benefit, would you like to do some follow-up sessions? He goes, are you kidding me? I'm never coming back here again. And he crosses his arms, he gets up, he stops it. And I'm going, so at that moment, because I was considering, okay, I've learned this a little bit. It's interesting, but I'm going to, move on from here. But at that moment, that's when I realized, oh my gosh, there's something to this. There's some benefit. Uh, all the people at the time, I'd ask them, did you ever hear of Dr. Bernard Jensen, for example? He wrote like 50 books, but he had one book called Tissue Cleansing Through Bowel Management, and he would do kalemas, which is again like a super enema, and he had all these different, experiences with this, and so that the only other book out at the time was Walker's book, and it's still out there today, Colon Health, and that was written in the 40s, Norman Walker. And you still see that book. I've seen it at Marlene's, for example, on the bookshelf. But it's still not, it wasn't real in depth about, the whole process. So it was at that point I decided, you know what? This is something that's worthwhile. I really got a pull to it. And because all the people I saw in that first year, their responses varied. And I didn't know, why is this person responding this way and the other person's not doing so good? And,
Mhm.
all these different in-betweens. And I tried to figure out, is there a pattern here? Is there something going on? Am I missing something in terms of technique? And so that's when some people had come in and they had brought in a couple of books from the U of W library. So I had gone there researching and I found a couple of books by medical doctors written on the subject of colon irrigation. And one was by Ottenberg, who did one where that technique called high enema or high colonic, and then another gentleman, doctor, who had another specific technique. And so that's when I started on that road. And so in my book, I have over 70 in the annotated bibliography books. I actually have 300 books now that were written by various people who worked with water in the colon. And so a lot of these techniques, I'm very eclectic. And so I started working, reading about it here, or oh, when the person does it there. And so back to the philosophy and getting into this. And if you look at the term philosophy, it's from the Greek and it literally means philosophy of the body. So what does that mean? It means in terms of physician, that word philosophy comes from that root meaning physician, that philosopher of the body. When you go to an individual, for example, have you ever been to a medical doctor?
Yes.
Okay, have you been to a massage therapist?
Yes.
All right, acupuncturist.
Yes.
That's what I mean. And so each one of those individuals that you're going to, they are coming from the philosophy of the body. So with Western medicine, it's cut, I always call it cut, burn, poison, basically. With, you've got acupuncture, you've got the meridians that, where they're looking at the body, that the meridians affect all the body, the certain organs in the body, so
Mhm.
forth. So you're coming from whatever that injury. When you go to that individual, you're going to be partaking of that philosophy. And so the philosophy that I espouse or I work from the premise on is the drugless healing philosophy. So, what does that mean? Well, number one, don't do drugs. That's number one. Uh, but basically, the idea, and in my book, I talk about, I use one of the models, which is from the Native American, certain tribes had what they call the medicine wheel. And in chapter one, I kind of start with that overview. But it fits in with drugless healing philosophy very well, whether it's Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine. But in the medicine wheel, you have north, south, east, west. So, in other words, mind, body, spirit, emotion. At the center of that wheel is you. Okay. And then you have your creator above. And so when you're out of balance, you look to the four directions. And in looking, and that's a whole definition of medicine in the medicine wheel is homeostasis. In other words, what is your body telling you? What is your doctor? And the whole idea of this philosophy is the best doctor you've got is, for example, Dr. Paula. And what is Dr. Paula trying to tell you? Well, I woke up this morning, I had a headache. Why do I have a headache? Well, oh, I had a piece of cheesecake last night. Or, I bumped my head when I stopped real fast. I bumped my head, my neck is out, maybe. Or, there's all these different ways to look at that in terms of that homeostasis. I got in a fight with my husband yesterday, or, it could be emotional. There's so many parts to it. And it could be a combination of those. And oftentimes, especially, I'm going to hydrate for a second here,
Yeah, our body
especially,
does speak to us. Yes.
go ahead.
Our body does speak to us, doesn't it?
Exactly. And so that's the
Fascinating.
philosophy that I work from. So the number one thing when people come in to see me is I try to teach them to help them to listen to their body. And in the book, I talk about the your colon compass and that the center, and if you look at this chart, can you see this chart okay?
Mm-hmm.
If
Yes.
you look, the colon itself, you've got literally, and I talk about some of this in my book in different chapters, but in the colon itself, you've got the immune system. So throughout, excuse me. So this is the chart with the lymphatic system, okay? And the
Wow.
lymphatic system is throughout the whole body. But there's a huge number, some people say as much as half of your lymph system is in this abdominal area. And this abdominal area, the colon itself has well over 200 lymph nodes, including the spleen, which is a giant lymph node. But over and above that, you have one entire layer of what's called lymphoid tissue. And this lymphoid tissue is a giant point of drainage. So that, in other words, and this is what, and getting back to what I was mentioning earlier about the view tube, when we're looking at the lymph, and in the back of my book, I have examples of drainage. When you're looking at lymphatic drainage through the view tube, it gives the water a milky appearance. And the water can be thick as cream, it can be light and steady. So what you're looking at is white blood cell die-off. So in other words, one of the main functions of your lymphocytes or white blood cells is they're like garbage truck drivers. They're constantly looking through the blood for things that aren't supposed to be there. Uh, are you familiar with dark field microscopy?
No, I'm not.
Okay, it's where that practitioner that does that, they take a drop of blood and they look at it under full spectrum lighting, high resolution microscopy, and it's live blood. And they can watch it for 2 to 3 hours, and some of them even videotape it. But when you see the white blood cells in that drop of blood, they look like clear round circles. And someone with a good immune system, there's a lot of them. They're looking for stuff all the time. So if they see, for example, if they see a fungus that's not supposed to be there, they will engulf that fungus, dissolve it, and then it's removed. They've done their job. And so you're looking at 80% of what you get rid of through the colon. That's why the colon is so important. The old timers said death begins in the colon. And that's because when people aren't eliminating properly, excuse me again, that lymph system starts backing up. And so then, because of that, that's where you have people that have problems with their lymphatic system. Like women, for example, will get lumps in their breast, or you can have all these issues with water retention, so forth. And so the lymph, when we're watching for the lymph drainage response, and it comes back to, and again, I talk about it in my book, about the hydration drainage response. So think of that infinity sign, okay? When someone comes in, you're looking at intracellular, extracellular. So the extracellular comes to, and again, it comes back to what I was saying about the hydrosiphoning return flow system, is that you're looking at fascia, fascial tension. So the colon itself has its two major muscles. It's got the longitudinal muscle that runs the entire length of colon, and then it's got the haustra, or muscular bumps, haustrations plurally. And so when you're seeing, and that's part of what we're doing extracellular, is we're getting the colon to exercise, okay? And so as we're looking at that, and again, you see all of this stuff. I explain it the whole time. It's just an amazing process. I get excited about it because it's a process essentially, and we're trying to help the body. And so extracellular is tone up the colon, so we can it's corrective to prolapse colon, twisted colon, spastic colon. In women, for example, and again, this is in my book, in the addendum, I talk about this issue. Women who've had children, C-sections, you're dealing with scar tissue, but that muscle starts sagging. The old timers called this, again, this is a cecum ascending, this transverse colon starts sagging, it loses its tone. And so the old timers called that a dislocated colon. So and again, I do visceral manipulation during the course of these sessions, watching the response, watching the fascial response and that muscle tension. We're trying to keep that tension up. So you're, even while you're filling, it's draining. And so once the body learns to work with it, and usually the very first time, everybody's different. But what we're looking for is that toning response, and that surging is the longitudinal muscle, the waving is the hostra, and we're looking for the drainage response. And so the lymph, and I mentioned it a moment ago, it can, for example, I've worked with a lot of dentists and they get a lot of gray lymph. Why do you suppose that is?
Ooh, good question. And uh,
It's because they've been exposed to mercury.
oh,
So
mercury in the
looking
food.
at, again, I've been looking at this for 45 years now, and you start seeing certain patterns.
Yeah.
Some people do get tests, blood tests. Some of these blood tests cost thousands of dollars, okay? But
Oh,
some people come in, and again, I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose, I don't prescribe. I just teach people about the process of how
oh.
the body works in
Dirk,
detoxing.
we have about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
What last message do you want to share with everyone? This is not the end of this show. We are coming back for a second show because Dirk has so much more to share. But
All right.
one last thing, what would you like everyone to think about as we say goodbye today?
Well, I just like you to think about the fact that we're living in an age, and in my book, I talk about a quote from Dr. Heinrich Kramer in 2003. He was a German medical doctor, and he helped people with cancers, and he walked away from Western medicine, and he said he realized that people get cancers because they're toxic. And so when you look at now, and his quote was that people, there were 16 million, 17 million man-made compounds, chemical compounds registered internationally. I just looked it up. Okay, here it is, 2026. One site said 144 million chemicals. And as I've worked on people, I've seen a steady downward turn in people's health because we're being bombarded. So anything that you can help your body with in detoxing, and this is something that really helps. And so this is my contact info with the book, Dirk, and my heron.hygiene@gmail.com, or you can text me at 206-459-0102 if you'd like to get a copy of my book.
I
And I
love
really
it.
appreciate the time, Paula,
Wheels of
and I would
Wellness.
love to come back on.
I
There's so
can't
much.
wait. I can't
I'm so
wait.
glad.
Oh,
Well,
you
thank you.
have
Bless you
so much
again.
great information.
Thank you
Oh,
very
Dirk,
much.
love, hugs, and blessings. Everyone out there, love, hugs, and blessings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paula.